Animals are absolutely fascinating. For any shortfall they have within their senses, nature always seems to heighten another of their senses. Such as dogs, having poor eyesight but wonderfully sharp hearing and a phenomenal sense of smell. Cats cannot see fine details or rich colors, but they have the ability to see in the dark, which only requires 1/6 of the amount of light we humans need. In this fast-paced world, it can be difficult to really appreciate and/or ponder these senses and how the world affects our beloved animals. Especially if we aren't within a role of working with or studying animals. When people query for help because their dog stops on a walk, myself and many other dog behaviorists do not see a dog who is refusing to walk, had enough and wanting to return home, or just wants to walk in another direction. We ponder what is happening to and within the dog in these moments. Are they in pain? Have they seen something which has frightened them? Have they paused because they have seen prey and they need to participate in a part of the predation sequence? Have they caught a scent which is stimulating a traumatic memory for them? Is their harness too tight or digging in? Do they have fur clumped between their pads, or are their claws just a little bit too long? Do they feel vulnerable because they have fur that covers their eyes? This is just one example of some of the different sensory input situations a dog could be experiencing when stopping on a walk. There is no easy or direct answer for many dog behaviors. Dogs are expected to be subservient, obedient, and to fit into an urban, human egocentric world. We stop appreciating all of the needs of the animal, how they feel, if they are scared, uncomfortable, happy. Animal behaviorists are so obsessed with truly understanding animals and our beloved dog companions that MRI tests have been done with dogs to see areas of their brains lighting up within different scenarios. Carl S. Bock, M. Zamansky, A. et al., 2020. Something else we seem to forget is that skin is one huge organ. As an autistic person, I have many sensory sensitivities that involve skin, that a neurotypical individual may never experience. Such as not wanting to be touched by anyone who isn't an animal, to the point that this is an overwhelming fear. I cannot bear the sensation of some clothing items and am very particular about clothes. Neurodivergent individuals like myself often feel pain and touch differently too. We cannot always regulate our body temperature and are known to have skin sensitivity. When our dogs scratch, the first assumption is that they are simply itchy. The vet and ourselves may first explore a path of ruling out possible causes unless a skin rash or cause of the itch can be visibly identified. This may result in flea and tick treatments, steroid injections, anti-inflammatory or antibiotic injections, anal gland check and emptying, or even an oral antibiotic. Vets do not typically immediately offer a skin sensitivity and allergy test or start an investigation to look for pain. There are two typical tests which vets will not normally consider before ruling out the season, for example fleas and ticks, grass seeds, and pollen. Vets will also not conduct an allergy test on a dog younger than a year old in case of false positive results whilst immunology isn't fully developed. One test, the serological test, only requires testing of a single blood sample. This can be done during a routine wellness check. The other test, intradermal skin testing, is considered the gold standard of allergy testing in dogs. Quite a few of my clients have had this for their dogs, and the results are always so interesting to me. However, this test can be costly and requires that the dog is sedated, fur is shaved, and allergens are inserted into the skin if a hive appears at the injection site. The labs then conclude that the allergen is something that your dog is allergic to. Newton.s, 2022. Now that more and more people consider animals to be sentient and a part of the family, welfare for animals has been focused on more closely. M. Meehan, et al., 2017. Veterinary science and ethology still lack a standard definition of welfare and how it is categorized as good or bad. The terms well-being and welfare are still used interchangeably, with the criteria not being clear as to which each word means as a definition for professionals to categorize across the board. Macmillan, F.D., 2020. Within literature, good welfare is ascribed to the lack of exposure to chronic stressors. Within many studies, dog welfare is related to the measurement and analysis of stress behaviors. Beda, B. et al., 1997. Instead, the measure of dog welfare within studies is measured by the analysis of stress-related behaviors such as IP licking, yawning, whining, trembling, paw lifts etc. See Palestrini, et al., 2017. This makes it incredibly difficult for a standardized holistically based approach to understand dogs on a multifaceted level as an individual. Just like humans, just because two individuals may have the same conditions, it absolutely doesn't mean that they will have the same symptoms, or just because two individuals have the same or similar symptoms it doesn't mean they both have the same condition. Measuring welfare is also incredibly difficult as different countries have different policies and laws on how animals are kept and treated, cultural differences and expectations, demographics, breeding, legal breeds, and veterinary care. You can refer back to my previous blogs examining the 5 freedoms and 5 domains below, rather than filling this blog with more information if you would like to learn more. I have linked them below. Introduction to the 5 freedoms and domains. https www.facebook.com/sharepxekz30prnmxfozu. Freedom from discomfort. https www.facebook.com/sharep-t5knxwn9t4prgp. Freedom to express normal life. https www.facebook.com/sharep-bswk9wqf2yyp3. Freedom from fear and distress. https www.facebook.com/sharep-fxpj5sgzhn4ezm2w. Freedom from pain, suffering, disease, and illness. https www.facebook.com/sharep-revzqpqyear3uxm4jd. Conclusion. https www.facebook.com/sharep-rcp2evgemd13-f. Many of us in the field are focusing our attention on dogs' emotions and not just stress as a measure of welfare. Many vet practices are so busy that there is not always time to look at the dog as an individual and in an holistic way. This is why I created the medical and journal pack I created to aid both guardian, vet and all other professionals involved in the dog's life so that we can understand what may be happening with the dog. This is why many of us behaviorists are also ethologists and work within a multidisciplinary team for the sake of every individual dog and their family. Many see a measure of dog welfare of their behavioral responses to activations of brain functions, such as avoidance of painful feedback and seeking out rewards and praise by offering specific behaviors. V. Konak, et al., 2015. We also understand that emotions can compromise immunology and health in different ways, and this is not something that has always been considered about the health and welfare of animals. Barrett, et al., 2016. This is an important paragraph to hold on to or to highlight. Still today many dogs are not being recognized through their physiological ailments and unwanted behaviors as there being something medically wrong, but rather simply that the dog is showing unwanted behaviors. This is where we end up seeing relinquishment, punishment, aversives and frustration and/or breakdowns in relationships between guardian and dog. Whilst we don't strictly understand animals' emotions, great breakthroughs have been made in first recognition of animals and their emotions and links between emotions and unwellness. Bikoff, M. 2000, advocated for the recognition of emotions in dogs and attempting to understand dogs as more than simply a dog. Links to the specific emotional brain circuits have been identified in dogs thanks to Briefer.e. F. 2012. Emotions in dogs are still not truly understood, and this is why sensory sensitivities are so important to also understand and include when looking at a dog's behavior and changes in behavior. The measure of dog emotions is still quite crude, in body language still being too generalized and not applied to the individual dog. Dogs' emotions are also measured along 2 axes, which specifically measure arousal and the degree of activity and valence in that emotions fall into either a positive or negative category. Barrett, et al., 2016. When dogs are typically seen for itching behaviors, the guardians may report excessive licking, scratching or rubbing to less obvious signs of distress such as self-induced alopecia or a lesional itch. A lesional itch is the medical term for itching due to an allergic reaction. Bensener. E. 2013. This is a complex pathophysiology behind a seemingly straightforward behavior, which is made increasingly difficult to understand due to no objective measure to use to determine the cause. Sevicbas F. Lerner E.A. 2020. It's well known that itch and pain follow similar pathways, which is why scratching, which causes pain, can sometimes relieve itching. However, some studies suggest there are separate pathways for itch. For example, a specific group of nerve fibers, although less common, respond to substances like histamine that cause itching. Additionally, certain receptors and molecules, such as Illinois-31 and Illinois-13, are more closely linked to itch. There are also neurotransmitters specifically related to itch. However, not all studies agree, with some suggesting that the same nerve fibers may cause both itch and pain, explaining why the two sensations can sometimes overlap. Schmaltz. M. and 2019. Itching is something that is annoying and something we normally link directly to allergies or skin sensitive. But what we don't normally consider for ourselves, let alone dogs, is the pathophysiology of itch, the different types of itch which can occur. Acute, which means in medical terms that there is a sudden onset, may be severe in nature and symptoms change or worsen quickly. Chronic, which in medical terms, means that it is an ongoing problem and an occurrence which does not go away quickly or easily. Neurogenic, which means that the cause is originating from the nervous system or tissue. Neuropathic, which means that there could be nerve damage or disease, which can cause pain, numbness, tingling, swelling or muscle weakness within the body. Sevicbas F. Lerner E.A. 2020, Schmeltz M. 2019, Stander S., Weisschar E., Mettang T., et al., 2007, Lee C., Kim H. J., Bak S.K., NAHS. 2021, Dong. X. 2018. Pruritoceptive, which means that the itch is caused by skin damage, inflammation, age-related changes to the skin barrier's function, exogenous in origin. Which means that the allergens may have been inhaled, ingested, injected or come into contact. Endogenous mediators, which means that substances which are produced by the body that regulate cell growth and differentiation and are involved in the inflammatory response. They can contribute to a variety of processes such as vascular tone, which is the contraction of the smooth muscle cells in the walls of small arteries and arterioles, which are a key factor in blood pressure and blood flow distribution. Apoptosis is a natural process where the body's cells die in a controlled way. It's like the body's way of getting rid of old, damaged, or unnecessary cells to keep things healthy. This process helps with things like normal growth, healing, and even protecting the dog from diseases by removing harmful cells. Cellular stress responses and the acute phase response. External irritants such as fleas, food allergies, atopic dermatitis, parasites and hot spots. Dry skin, which can be caused by hormonal imbalances, allergies, parasites, infection, scabs, dandruff, excessive bathing, fungal infections, malnutrition, hair loss, inflammation, odor, diet. Grooming, scaly skin, chewing and biting at the skin, atopic dermatitis, Cushing's disease, increase in oiliness and eczema. Chronic itching can make the body more sensitive to itch signals, a process called neural sensitization. In dogs and cats, this isn't well studied, but it could make them more sensitive to mild or non-itchy triggers. There are two types, aleknesis, where something that wouldn't normally cause itching is perceived as itchy, and hyperkinesis, where mild triggers cause stronger itching than usual. This can happen due to inflammation from allergies or scratching, which changes the skin by increasing itch receptors, mast cells, and substances that cause itching. In long-term itch conditions, changes occur in the spinal cord and brain, making the itch signal stronger. Some parts of the brain and spinal cord become overactive, while areas that normally help stop itching, like after scratching, don't work as well. This makes the itch worse and harder to control. Sov. F. 2023. The Canadian Academy of Veterinary Dermatology, CAVD, concluded that more research is needed to better understand how itching works in the body. By learning more about the processes involved, we can develop better treatments. It's also important to recognize that chronic itching greatly affects the quality of life for both dogs and their guardians, physically and emotionally, and it can be costly. Veterinarians should explain to guardians that there are different treatments available to help manage itching and that with ongoing care, a dog's quality of life can improve. Linek M., Favrot C., 2010. Nolly C., Colombo S., Cornigliani L., et al., 2011. Skin is just one way in which dogs can experience sensory sensitivities, and itching is something which is taken for granted and brushed off. Hopefully by the end of this blog all about itching you have a further understanding of the problems which can negatively affect a dog's welfare and well-being due to itching, and how there are so many different ways in which an itch can just be the beginning of scratching the surface to something more occurring within your dog. If you do not feel comfortable with your veterinarian's response to your dog's itching, or feel that they have met you with drugs and not a formal investigation, you can ask to see a different veterinarian within the surgery or change surgeries to ensure your dog receives the highest standard of care and so that you as the dog guardian are taken seriously. And also have your kind put to rest in a proper and thorough investigation being conducted into this one area of your dog's sensory sensitivity through skin. In the next blog, we will be looking at the other ways that dogs can present as having sensory sensitivities and not just a change of behavior or an unwanted behavior. Acknowledgement of a dog's sensory sensitivities can vastly improve dog welfare.